Okay, let's unpack this. The stark reality, the thing that really hits you is that the average person lives only about 30,000 days.
Yeah. It's kind of a shocking number when you hear it like that.
Right. And for you, if you're around 30, maybe, more than 11,000 of those are already done, gone. It really makes you think about how you're spending the days you have left, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive, isn't it? Into making your time really count.
Yeah.
This isn't about like cramming more stuff into your schedule. It's more intentional, focusing on what truly matters, within that finite time we all have.
Exactly. And that's really the mission here.
And I'm sure it's something you've felt, how childhood summers just seem to stretch on forever.
Oh, totally. Endless summer days.
But now whole years just seem to like vanish, blink, and they're gone.
It's true. Last Christmas feels like maybe a month ago, tops. So what's the reason for that? Why does our sense of time shift so much?
Well, the transcript highlights that our brains, they basically track time by recording new experiences.
Okay.
When you're a kid, almost everything is new, right? So your brain is constantly making new memories, and that makes time feel really expansive.
Makes sense.
But as adults, we tend to fall into routines. Same commute, same breakfast, same shows in the evening.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, and our brains start to gloss over these familiar moments. They don't record them as much. This leads to what Peter calls the trap of time blindness.
The trap of time blindness. I like that term.
The key insight there, the real takeaway for you listening, is that novelty actually stretches time. So you need to think, how can I inject some newness into my routine?
Right, so we're basically running on autopilot a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But the transcript actually gives some interesting ways to shake things up.
It does.
Taking different routes to work, learning a new skill maybe every month, even just like talking to strangers. How do things like that help break the cycle?
Well, each one forces your brain to engage with something unfamiliar.
Okay.
Processing new information, new experiences, it generates more of those time recordings. It makes time feel richer, maybe a bit more drawn out. It's a conscious effort, to break up the routine. Which of those suggestions kind of jumps out at you?
I think the learn a new skill monthly one is pretty compelling.
Yeah.
It feels active,
Yeah.
a deliberate way to bring newness in.
Right.
And the transcript also mentioned this common mistake we make.
Right.
Overestimating what we can do in a day.
Yeah, but underestimating what we can do in a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That really rings true, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. We make these huge daily to-do lists, feel bad when we don't finish, and then maybe give up on bigger, longer-term goals because we don't see results right away. It connects back to having a more realistic sense of potential, both short and long-term.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Priorities.
Yeah.
The transcript makes this really important distinction between just being busy and actually being productive.
Critical difference.
Yeah, I think we all know people, maybe it's even us sometimes, who are constantly rushing, but not really getting anywhere on the stuff that matters to them.
That's so true. Busyness can feel productive, but often it's just activity. It can even be a way to avoid the really important, maybe harder tasks. Peter introduces a powerful tool here, the deathbed test.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, imagine yourself at 90, looking back. What would you truly, deeply regret not having done?
Wow. That's sobering. But I can see how effective that would be. Really focuses the mind.
Right. Suddenly, those extra hours on that minor work project might seem less vital compared to, say, time with family or pursuing a passion.
Makes total sense. And the transcripts also talks about knowing what not to do, this two-list strategy. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. So the idea is, first, you list everything you feel you need or want to do. Big list.
Okay, brain dump.
Exactly. Then you look at that list and circle maybe the top 3, the absolute most crucial things.
Right.
Everything else. That becomes your avoid list. It's a conscious decision about where not to spend your limited time and energy.
That's powerful. Just as important as deciding what to do.
It really is. And it prompts the question, doesn't it? How much of your current time is maybe spent on things that would end up on that avoid list?
Ouch. Probably too much. It's like the transcript says, these things feel urgent, maybe even important in the moment, but they don't actually move the needle on the big stuff. And then it uses this analogy of compound interest, but for life choices. I thought that was really insightful.
Yeah, it's fascinating applying that financial idea to how we invest our time and energy.
How does that work exactly?
Well, think about small, consistent investments in your key priorities. Nurturing relationships, focusing on health, learning a skill, little bits every day. Over time, those yield massive exponential returns, like compound interest growing your money. These small time investments grow your life satisfaction, your skills, your connections.
So tiny deposits adding up.
Exactly. But, and this is the warning from the transcript, there are thieves of time that steal those potential returns.
Oh, like what?
Endless scrolling on social media, getting bogged down in busy work that doesn't matter, constant distractions, notifications pinging all the time.
Yeah, the usual suspects.
Right. So the advice is pretty blunt. Ruthlessly eliminate the non-essential. Be really tough about it.
Ruthlessly eliminate. It makes you think about those little time leaks, where they add up and what the real cost is over months or years. Okay, let's dive into relationships. The relationship bank account analogy. I think that's something most people can grasp instantly.
It's a good one, right? Every interaction is either putting something in or taking something out.
A deposit or a withdrawal.
Exactly. A genuine compliment, really listening. Those are deposits. Being late, being critical without kindness, those are withdrawals.
And like a real bank account.
You can't keep making withdrawals if there's nothing in there. You need a positive balance. Often we only reach out when we need something, which feels like a pure withdrawal to the other person.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the transcript kind of pushes back against the idea that you need these big, grand gestures.
Right. It emphasizes the small daily deposits. Those are often more significant in the long run.
Like what kind of things?
A quick check-in text, remembering a small detail about someone's life, just being fully present when they're going through something tough. It's the consistency. That's what builds the strong foundation.
The everyday stuff adds up.
Precisely. Accumulates trust, deepens the connection. And what's also interesting, maybe a bit counterintuitive, is this idea that shared suffering.
Shared suffering.
Yeah, going through tough times together can actually forge even stronger bonds than just sharing good times.
That makes a strange kind of sense, doesn't it? You navigate challenges together, build resilience.
You weather the storm side by side, creates a different kind of bond, a deeper understanding.
Yeah.
And Peter also talks about something often overlooked, the value of weak ties.
Weak ties, like acquaintances.
Exactly. Casual acquaintances. We tend to focus on our close circle, our strong ties.
Sure, your best friends, family.
Right. But the transcript suggests these weak ties play a really important, different role.
How so?
They act like bridges. Bridges to new opportunities, new information, fresh perspectives that your inner circle might not have.
Ah, okay. So it's the contrast between the comfort of the familiar and the potential that comes from outside your usual bubble.
You got it. And then there's this ultimate paradox mentioned.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
That helping others can actually expand our own sense of time.
Wait, how does that work? Giving time away makes you feel like you have more.
Kind of. Psychologically, when we focus outward on contributing to someone else's well-being, it shifts our attention away from our own time pressure. It can create a sense of purpose, interconnectedness. It makes us feel more fulfilled. And weirdly, it can make us feel like we have more time available, even though we just spent some helping someone else.
That's fascinating. Okay, let's shift gears again, career and purpose.
Yeah.
The transcript says the best opportunities often lie just outside our comfort zone.
Right, in what it calls the adjacent possible.
Adjacent possible, like just next door to what you already know.
Exactly. It cautions against getting too comfortable, too entrenched in your current lane.
Because you might miss things.
Yeah, the valuable insight here is to keep exploring just beyond your existing skills and experience. That's where the real growth happens, where unexpected opportunities pop up. Staying too rigid limits your future.
And it challenges that idea of optimizing purely for money early on, especially like in your 20s or early 30s.
Yeah, the advice is different. Prioritize learning skill development instead. The principle is money follows knowledge.
I like that. A longer-term view.
It's strategic. Build a strong foundation of skills and knowledge first, and that increases your future earning potential. It's an investment.
Makes sense. The transcript also dismisses the old career ladder idea, which feels kind of outdated now anyway.
Totally outdated for most people. It feels much more like what does it say, a jungle gym.
Right, a jungle gym. Moves can be sideways, diagonal, maybe even a step back sometimes.
All contributing to building this unique, valuable, maybe even irreplaceable skill set. It's about being adaptable, constantly learning, not just climbing straight up.
Yeah. And it warns about career quicksand.
Ooh, sounds bad.
It's that feeling of being stuck in a role where you've stopped growing, but it's comfortable.
Ah, the comfort trap.
Yeah. You ever felt that pull? Staying somewhere comfortable, but maybe unfulfilling?
Oh, definitely. That comfort zone is seductive, but it can become a trap. The longer you stay somewhere that doesn't challenge you or align with your growth, the harder it feels to make a change.
Sure.
And I really liked the concept of productive procrastination that was mentioned.
Productive procrastination. Isn't that an oxymoron? How can you make procrastination useful?
Well, the idea is when you find yourself avoiding a specific task, instead of just doom scrolling or whatever,
Guilty again.
you consciously redirect that avoidance energy into learning something new or doing a different, maybe less urgent but still meaningful activity.
Okay.
And often the things you naturally gravitate towards learning in those moments can actually reveal your underlying passions and interests, what you really want to be doing.
Huh. That's actually a brilliant way to reframe procrastination, turning avoidance into discovery.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk health. This is fundamental. The transcript frames health not just as living longer, but as a life force multiplier.
I love that phrase, life force multiplier.
Yeah. It completely reframes how you think about physical well-being, doesn't it?
It really does. Good health isn't just about adding years to your life. It's about having the energy, the vitality to actually live the life you have right now, fully engage with it.
Right. Think about having 8 really energized hours versus 12 draining ones.
Big difference. Energy is the core resource, maybe even more than time itself.
And it directly tackles that whole I'll sleep when I'm dead mentality.
Yeah. Terrible approach.
Sleep is framed as a brain superpower, crucial for literally everything.
Everything. Decision-making, problem-solving, pursuing goals. The transcript even links good sleep to getting promotions and having better relationships.
Because your brain just works better.
Exactly. When you're properly rested, your brain is firing on all cylinders. Focus, emotional regulation, creativity, it's all boosted.
Okay. And the transcript also brought up this funny dynamic between morning you and evening you.
Huh. Yes, morning you makes all these ambitious plans.
And poor evening you is exhausted and has to try and execute them.
Right. The advice is basically, don't let morning you be a tyrant. Be realistic about energy levels throughout the day.
I can definitely relate to that overly optimistic morning planner, setting myself up for failure later. So how do we balance those two views?
It's about self-awareness mainly. Planning realistically, knowing your energy ebbs and flows. And I really liked the micro workouts life hack mentioned.
Micro workouts, like tiny exercise breaks.
Yeah, small bursts of activity throughout the day. They add up. It's a reminder that our bodies are built to move.
It doesn't have to be an hour at the gym, right?
Not at all. Just weaving in short walks, some stretches, taking the stairs. It makes a difference, physically and mentally.
The transcript even links physical movement to mental clarity, like getting unstuck on a problem by moving your body.
Absolutely. Moving your body can genuinely clear your head, shift your perspective on a challenge. It works.
Okay, shifting to learning and growth. The teacher effect. This is powerful.
So powerful. The idea that teaching something to someone else dramatically accelerates your own understanding.
It's so true. When you have to explain it, you have to really process it deeply. Organize your thoughts.
Right. Even if you don't feel like an expert, just the act of trying to articulate it solidifies it for you. And the transcript points out that your own struggles in learning something can actually make you a better teacher.
Because you remember what was confusing.
Exactly. You remember the tricky bits, the hurdles. You have more empathy for someone else going through it. You can explain it better.
Makes sense. And for ongoing learning, reading biographies is recommended as a learning hack.
Yeah, like downloading a lifetime of experience, successes, failures, lessons learned in just a few hours.
It's efficient. Learn from others' mistakes. Avoid common pitfalls.
Totally. And then there's this interesting, maybe counterintuitive idea of deliberate amateurism.
Deliberate amateurism. So strategically choosing to be bad at some things.
Kind of. The idea is not striving for perfection in every single area. By consciously staying a beginner in some less critical things.
Oh.
You keep your brain flexible, keep your ego in check, and maybe more importantly, you free up mental energy to really focus on your core strengths, where you do want to excel.
Ah, okay. So it's about resource allocation in a way.
Exactly. And the transcript reframes constraints, limited time, money, resources, not as problems, but as potential catalysts for creativity.
Right. Necessity being the mother of invention.
Pretty much. Having limits can force you to think more innovatively, find solutions you wouldn't have considered if you had unlimited resources.
Makes sense. And strategic quitting is highlighted as a valuable skill.
Yeah, not just giving up easily, but knowing when to cut your losses. Recognizing when something, a project, a commitment, even a job, is no longer serving your growth or your main goals.
And redirecting that energy elsewhere.
Precisely. It's crucial for making the most of your limited time. Okay, let's delve into emotional intelligence. The 90-second rule for emotions, had you heard of that before?
No, that was new to me. The idea that the actual chemical rush of an emotion only lasts about 90 seconds.
Right. And anything beyond that initial surge is largely a choice, a conscious or unconscious choice to stay in that emotional state.
Wow. That puts a lot of control back in our hands, doesn't it?
It really does. The power here is in managing that second wave of emotion. Developing emotional regulation is framed as a kind of superpower.
A superpower? How so?
Well, for building trust, fostering strong relationships, essential in personal life, sure, but also crucial for things like career advancement, apparently.
Makes sense. And it suggests that strategic vulnerability, rather than always trying to seem perfect, can build deeper connections.
Yeah, being genuine, relatable. Constant perfection can actually create distance. People connect with realness.
True. But it also warns against avoiding difficult conversations. It says they create emotional debt.
Ooh, that's a good term. Emotional debt.
Yeah, those unresolved issues, unspoken feelings. They just pile up over time, right?
They compound, creating bigger burdens, straining relationships. It's better to address things even if it's uncomfortable.
And it makes a great point about gratitude. Unexpressed gratitude is wasted potential.
Totally wasted. It needs to be shared, spoken, communicated to have its full impact.
Right. Feeling it isn't enough. Expressing it strengthens connections, reinforces the positive stuff. Okay, moving towards finance. Financial wisdom. The transcript redefines money in a really interesting way.
How's that?
As a means to freedom of time.
Ah, okay. Not just wealth for wealth's sake.
Exactly. Shifting the focus. How can money buy back your most valuable, non-renewable resource, your time?
That's a powerful reframe. And it mentions that paradox where earning more can actually make you poorer in time.
Right. Lifestyle inflation. You earn more, you spend more, you need to keep earning more. You're stuck on the treadmill.
Working just as hard, maybe harder for more stuff, but with no more actual free time.
So the transcript introduces time affluence, prioritizing free time experiences over just accumulating more things.
And calculating your true hourly rate, factoring in commute time, work stress, all the time sacrificed for the money.
That's a real eye-opener, isn't it?
Yeah.
Makes you reconsider the real cost of things.
Definitely. It also contrasts buying objects, which usually depreciate.
Yeah, like a new car driving off the lot.
With buying experiences, which often appreciate in value over time, in our memories and personal growth.
Good point. And the core financial skill. Building margins.
Living below your means.
But not framed as deprivation. Right? More about creating a buffer.
Exactly. Creating space for opportunities, flexibility, reducing financial stress. That margin is true wealth, not just restriction.
Okay, let's tap into creativity. Love the analogy here.
Yeah.
Creativity is like a faucet.
Yeah.
You have to let it run through the rusty water. First, the initial bad ideas to get to the clear, good stuff.
Ah, that's encouraging, especially when you feel blocked.
Right. It's normal for the first attempts not to be great. Just keep the flow going. Your best ideas will come.
And it circles back to constraints fostering creativity. Mentions Shakespeare working within strict forms led to amazing innovation.
Limited options forcing you to be more imaginative. And the advice to separate creation from judgment.
Crucial. Can't brainstorm and edit simultaneously kills the flow.
Totally. Create first, judge later. And documenting your output, even the rough stuff.
Strengthens the creativity muscle, it says. Seeing your progress builds momentum and confidence.
Makes sense. And the real secret to creativity.
Finding your unique combination, combining your specific skills, interests, experiences that creates your personal creative superpower.
Your unique niche. Okay, personal energy. This feels fundamental to everything else.
Absolutely. The transcript argues energy is maybe even more precious than time.
Because time management is useless without energy management.
Exactly. You can have all the time in the world, but if you're drained, you can't use it effectively. So it suggests doing an energy audit.
Like tracking finances, but for energy.
Yeah. Consciously identifying what activities give you energy and which ones consistently drain you.
That sounds useful. And it challenges the idea that willpower is enough.
Right. Willpower is finite. It runs out. Smart people don't rely on it alone.
So what do?
They design their environment to make good choices easier. Remove temptations, set things up for success, conserve that willpower for when you really need it.
Ah, okay. Engineering your surroundings. And decision fatigue is mentioned.
Yeah, the idea that making too many small decisions wears you out mentally. That's why successful people often use routines.
Like wearing the same kind of outfit? Yeah. Or eating the same breakfast.
Exactly. Automate the small stuff to save mental energy for the big, important decisions.
Clever. And the energy hack of strategic incompetence.
Yeah. Deliberately not being great at certain non-essential tasks.
So people stop asking you to do them.
Pretty much. Protects your time and energy for your priorities. And finally, recovery, rest, sleep, downtime isn't wasting time.
It's essential. It multiplies the value of your working time.
Absolutely. Investment, not expense.
Okay. Social capital. Who you know matters. But it's about genuine relationships, right? Not just collecting contacts.
Exactly. Real connections built on trust, mutual respect, not just LinkedIn numbers. The transcript gives a formula for friendship.
A formula.
Time plus vulnerability plus shared experiences.
Simple but profound. Can't really shortcut any of those.
Nope. And networking is reframed. It's not just about taking, it's about connecting others, being a helpful node in the network.
Being a connector, a facilitator, and friendship maintenance.
The small, consistent stuff. Regular check-ins, remembering details, not just showing up for big events, keeps the connection warm.
Like tending a garden. The community as a garden analogy needs constant nurturing.
Right. Build your community before you desperately need it. You can't just plant seeds during a drought.
Good point. Okay, mental models. Our mind's shortcuts.
Useful, but flawed. The map is not the territory, as the saying goes.
They simplify reality, but they aren't reality itself. Need to remember their limits. And it advocates for second-order thinking.
Thinking beyond the immediate consequence. What are the consequences of the consequences?
The ripple effects. And seeking multiple perspectives is crucial.
Because our own mental map is always incomplete, potentially biased, we need other viewpoints to see the bigger picture.
And knowing something versus understanding it.
The classic example, knowledge is knowing a tomato is a fruit. Understanding is knowing not to put it in a fruit salad.
Right. Context and application. Collect patterns, not just isolated facts. And inverse thinking for problem solving.
Yeah, instead of just asking, how do I solve this? Ask, how am I potentially creating this problem?
Looking at it backwards. Sometimes stopping the cause is the solution.
Often is. Finally, life design. This is empowering.
The idea that life is actively designed, consciously or not. We should be intentional about it.
Right. Using the metaphor of life as a portfolio, experiences, relationships, skills, dreams, we're curating it.
Taking a proactive, creative approach, not just letting life happen to you. And it favors testing and experimenting over rigid plans.
Yeah, run small experiments, see what works before making huge commitments. Dip your toe in.
And the power of tiny adjustments over time.
Massive results from small, consistent changes. Start with one tiny thing for just 5 minutes a day. Build momentum.
Manageable wins. And defining your own metrics for success.
Crucial. Not just chasing societal norms or what others expect. What does success look like to you? What truly matters? Family time, learning, helping others.
Designing your own scorecard.
Oh.
And doing regular life reviews.
Checking in periodically. Catching problems early, adjusting course, preventing those big regrets later on.
Wow. Okay, so bringing this all together.
Yeah.
Really clear. The goal isn't about magically finding more time.
No, it's about making the time we do have actually count. Consciously, intentionally.
All these principles, understanding time, priorities, relationships, health, energy, designing our lives, they all work together, don't they?
They're interconnected. And as the transcript points out, time keeps passing anyway, whether we're intentional or not.
So it's our habits, those consistent daily choices that ultimately shape everything, our days, our years, our whole lives.
Absolutely.
So for you listening, maybe just take a moment. Think about everything we've talked through. Pick one idea, just one, that really resonated.
Yeah, one thing that sparked something for you.
And commit to testing it out. See how it feels in your life. Tweak it. Refine it. Make it your own.
And maybe think about this. How could deliberately designing even the smallest parts of your day, how could that compound into a dramatically different, maybe more fulfilling life a year from now?